The emergency beacon pierced through the static of deep space like a scream. Dr. Mara Lynn looked up from her medical logs aboard the Frontier Clinic station, her tired eyes focusing on the distress signal's origin coordinates. It was coming from the nearby asteroid belt, a place where most travelers knew better than to venture without proper clearance. Another mining accident, she muttered, already grabbing her emergency kit. But as she prepped the shuttle, something about the signal's encryption made her pause. It was military grade, imperial even. That meant trouble. 20 minutes later, Mara's shuttle docked with a damaged Corvette bearing markings she recognized from news broadcasts across the galaxy, the Crimson Serpent of the Velthoran Empire. Her hands trembled slightly as she cycled through the airlock. Everyone knew about the Velthorans. Everyone feared them. The corridor inside was dark, emergency lighting casting everything in shades of red. Mara followed the sound of labored breathing, her medical scanner beeping frantically. What she found in the cargo bay made her stop in her tracks. A creature lay sprawled across the floor, easily the size of a small transport vehicle. Its crystalline scales refracted the dim light into rainbow patterns, and 6 legs twitched sporadically. Chitinous armor plates rose and fell with each struggling breath, but what caught Mara's attention was the plasma wound burning through its side, a wound that would kill it within the hour. "Help him." The voice came from the shadows, cold and commanding. Mara spun around. A figure emerged into the light, tall and imposing, wearing armor that seemed to absorb the darkness itself. Her face was angular, almost sculptural, with eyes that glowed like distant stars. Empress Valira, the woman who had conquered 40 systems in a decade, the woman whose name made entire civilizations surrender without firing a shot. "Please," Valira added, and the word sounded foreign in her mouth, as if she hadn't used it in years. "Zephyr is dying." Mara's medical training overrode her fear. She approached the creature, Zephyr, and ran her scanner over the wound. The readings were catastrophic. Plasma burns didn't just destroy tissue. They continued burning at a molecular level. "I need to stabilize the cellular decay first," Mara said, her voice steady despite her racing heart. She pulled out a cryogel injector. "This is going to hurt him." "Do what you must." Mara worked quickly, injecting the gel directly into the wound's perimeter. Zephyr's massive body convulsed, and a sound like grinding metal filled the bay. She had treated hundreds of species in her career, but never anything like this. The creature's biology was a puzzle. Silicon-based tissue mixed with organic compounds she'd only read about in xenobiology journals. "How long have you had him?" Mara asked, trying to distract herself from the Empress's presence looming behind her. "Since I was a child," Valira replied quietly. "He was a gift from my father before the war. Before I became... this." Mara glanced back, surprised by the vulnerability in those words. The Empress's mask had cracked just slightly. For the next hour, Mara fought to save Zephyr's life. She used every technique she knew, adapting human medical procedures to alien physiology. She synthesized a custom antibacterial agent using the shuttle's limited supplies. She manually sutured tissue that kept trying to crystallize under her fingers. And through it all, Valira watched in silence, her imperial composure slowly crumbling. "Why are you doing this?" Valira finally asked. "You know who I am. What I've done. The worlds I've burned." Mara didn't stop working as she answered. "Because he's a living being in pain and I'm a doctor. That's all that matters right now. Such naive compassion. In my empire, that would be seen as weakness." "Then maybe your empire has forgotten what strength really means." Mara sealed the final layer of synthetic tissue over the wound. "Strength isn't just about conquest. It's about choosing mercy when you have the power to destroy." Valera was silent for a long moment. Then unexpectedly she knelt beside Zephyr, placing her hand on his massive head. The creature's breathing had stabilized, the wound no longer spreading. "My father told me once that ruling through fear makes you powerful, but ruling through wisdom makes you immortal," Valera whispered. "I thought he was weak for believing that. I watched him die because of his mercy." Mara sat back, exhausted. "And yet you're here, begging a stranger to save the one thing you love. That's not weakness, Empress. That's being human. I am not human. No, but you understand what it means to care about something beyond yourself. That's what makes us more than our weapons and our conquests." Zephyr stirred, a low rumble emanating from his chest. His eyes, 6 of them arranged in a circular pattern, opened slowly. When he saw Valira, he made a sound like wind chimes in a storm. The Empress's cold exterior shattered completely. She pressed her forehead against Zephyr's snout, and Mara could see tears tracking down her face, the first tears those eyes had probably shed in decades. "Thank you," Valira said, looking at Mara with genuine gratitude. "You've given me back the only piece of my soul I had left." Mara packed up her equipment, suddenly aware of how dangerous this situation could still become. But when she turned to leave, Valira stood. "Dr. Mara Lin," the Empress said, reading her name from the medical kit. "I will remember this. When the galaxy speaks of humans, they speak of warriors and innovators. But you've shown me something more valuable, that humanity's greatest weapon is compassion that knows no boundaries. I'm just a doctor doing her job. No. You're proof that even in the darkness of space, there are lights that refuse to be extinguished." Valira touched a panel on her armor, and a holographic sigil appeared in the air between them. "This is my personal mark. Should you ever need anything, protection, resources, sanctuary, invoke this, and the full might of the Vaelthoran Empire will answer." Mara stared at the sigil, understanding the weight of what was being offered. "I just hope you'll remember this feeling, Empress. The next time you have the power to destroy, maybe choose to heal instead." Valira smiled, a real smile, small but genuine. "Perhaps the galaxy is not ready for a merciful Valira, but perhaps it's time they met one anyway." As Mara's shuttle detached and flew back toward her clinic station, she watched the Corvette's engines ignite. Somewhere in that ship, a dying beast had been saved. And maybe, just maybe, an empire's course had shifted by a single degree. In the vast darkness of space, one act of mercy had reminded the galaxy's most feared ruler that power without compassion was just another form of death, and that sometimes the bravest thing a human could do was simply care, regardless of the consequences.